If she had only been ugly, we would still be together. This is a show. This is a show now. You see how different it is from.
Very.
How come we never met? Just you did my show once, right?
Yeah, I think I did your show. I think we may have met on an airplane once, like early in the morning. We were going to Austin, I think.
Oh, okay.
There were like a bunch of us on a plane, and I had like 2 hours of sleep. I've been drinking. Like wasn't in the mood to talk to anybody.
Were you in first class?
Yeah. You were in first. I remember you in first class too, because I remember the guys who weren't. Who were very annoyed.
I can't make that walk past other comedians.
It's so embarrassing.
I'd rather pay full price. I can't make the walk.
No, it's all about the walk.
Not after all these years.
No
my feet won't go past that.
I remember that trip. I got off the plane and I was about to go. It was the beginning of a big tour for me. I just finished my TV show. I was going on tour, and I get off that plane. There were 10 comics on that plane, half in first class, half in coach. And I get off and I get a phone call saying your car is out front. And I assumed that we each got our own cars. So I get out and I get in my car and I go to the hotel. And about 5 minutes later, a white van pulls up with all of you guys in it, like 10 other comics. And I realized that I'd gotten my own, just not thinking. And I thought no one has ever had more shit talked on them than I did on that 10-minute trip from the airport to the hotel.
Did you order it from the Austin people? Or
no, I think I just had my tour manager get me cars for everywhere that I went, not realizing what's a festival, what's a college, and just taking care of myself. But
I remember Mark Maron getting kind of pissy. And it was so funny to see him like that because Mark, I know him a long time, we're friends, and he was getting agitated that he was having to wait. And I was thinking, man, that success really
Oh yeah.
And the thing is, I understand it because he was kicked around a lot, and a lot of us. Anthony Jeselnik, pronounce it right?
Yeah, you nailed it.
Anthony Jeselnik is a terrific comedian. You know him. People know. He had TV shows. He had a show at MTV.
I had a show on Comedy Central. Did some roasts. Yeah, Comedy Central's my biggest kind of credit. Yeah,
you're fucking hilarious, man. I saw you going after Bill Burr a couple weeks ago. It was me, Bill, and you. And you basically said you haven't seen anything yet.
Yeah,
do you remember?
Yeah. That's how.
That's the great way. And see, the thing is, people like Bill laugh at that shit.
Mm-hmm.
He left me a message because I gave him an intro that was like, he's a guy who's very special. My cup of tea, but I think you'll like him. He's kind of sophomoric. He's easy to understand, and he's already laughed when he comes to the stage instead of like, we got a guy who did the David Letterman show, and now he's doing Jimmy Fallon. Like nobody gives a fuck.
When you got the confidence, when you know you're going to do great, it doesn't matter what the intro is, as long as it's a friend saying it.
Yeah.
But when they try to just he plays clubs and colleges all over the country, you don't need that. Just say the name.
Oh, and the thing that kills me is he's a Laugh Factory favorite. The fuck? Obviously, he's one of the favorites. He's on the show.
That's what you say when you have no idea what to say about someone who's their favorite here at the club.
Funny guy, not just funny. Are you guys ready for a girl?
Love to say who's ready for a lady. Love to say that. Whenever I would host, that was my favorite thing to say.
It's so fucking demeaning.
Oh, absolutely.
Have you noticed there's like a lot of hot girls now on stand-up?
There's always a lot of hot girls, but they only make it so far. There's like a wave of them, and then they kind of crash out. They get some attention up top, and it goes to their head, and then they can't put in the real work, I think.
Well, there's a couple. I mean, I've had Beth Stelling on this show.
She opens for me a lot, yeah.
Oh, yeah?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, she's awesome.
Boy, that was it's a good thing I didn't badmouth her, huh? No, I love Beth. Beth and Jessie May.
I don't know Jessie May.
Jessie May, she had a show on MTV called Girl Code or something.
Oh, yeah. It's a big thing now.
Yeah. And who's a fucking trip is Katie Quigley.
The Playboy girl, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I just met her the other week.
She's out of her fucking mind. She's funny. We were in Vegas, and she was sleeping. She was about to sleep with this porn star. So first of all, he's not a star if I never heard of him because I'm a fan.
Yeah.
I never seen the fucking guy, and she had sex with him. And I said, you use a rubber? She goes, of course. I said, but what about when you blow him? She goes, well, no. I go, well, what the fuck? He was probably fucking somebody that day.
Oh, yeah.
It's crazy.
On the way to the room. Yeah.
What's that?
On the way to the room.
On the way to the room.
Be very careful with porn stars.
Oh, yeah.
Very careful.
So you're from Pittsburgh?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Born and raised.
Are you a Steeler fan?
Big time Steeler fan. Big time Penguins, Pirates. I love them all. So I'm still riding high from the cup.
From what?
The Stanley Cup. We won the Stanley Cup
right,
a couple weeks ago. Yeah, you're a big hockey fan, I can tell.
No. That's the only sport I don't know, like the major sports, because I didn't grow up with it.
Yeah. Where are you from?
Philly.
Okay. You didn't grow up with the Flyers?
Yeah, but I mean, by the time I was already adult by then.
Yeah.
I was like, I was always into basketball, football, and baseball.
Mm-hmm.
I don't watch nearly as much baseball because there's too much to watch.
It's way too much. You got to wait till kind of like at the end of the season and
Yeah.
hope your team's still in it.
I watched the other night because Kershaw was pitching, and they talked about how unhittable he was. Of course, he got racked.
Oh yeah, what
Is
five?
that the Steelers?
5 home runs?
It was the Steelers that hit him, right?
No, I don't think it was the Pirates. I forget who it was that they were playing.
Hmm.
Actually, no, you're right. It was the Pirates. Yeah,
I think it was, yeah,
Pirates lost
because
the
they
season one.
swept him.
I think they lost the last game yesterday.
Oh, they played yesterday?
They played yesterday. They played an early game yesterday
Oh,
too. Yeah,
okay.
yeah, lost that one. McCutcheon got kicked out.
Who was another Pittsburgh fan? Billy Gardell.
Yeah, never met Billy.
I know.
I've met Steve Byrne, but I never met Billy. There's a lot of Pittsburgh comics. So, Dennis Miller, technically, but I've never met Dennis. I don't know if he even considers himself either a comedian or a Pittsburgh guy.
I don't know. I don't know when he took the turn to the right, but Dennis Miller used to be a prop act.
You're kidding.
Not. It's funny, isn't it? Because as intellectual as he is, and sometimes condescending, but in a funny way. I mean, because if you knew Dennis, he's really likable. You think you're going to meet this right wing nut? He's not.
Yeah.
I don't know what happened, what changed him. People have a right to change.
Oh, it was 9/11 for sure. It was night and day after that. And I know both of his brothers pretty well. Like I'm friends with both his brothers.
Yeah.
We hang out, but I've never met Dennis. But looked up to him a lot growing up. Loved his comedy.
Yeah, he's good. He's really smart. I didn't like him on Monday Night Football, but I like him on everything else.
Yeah.
They really didn't treat him well on there either.
They didn't want him. No, I mean, Tony Kornheiser got the same kind of treatment a couple years later. And,
oh, did he?
He was more of a sports guy. Oh, yeah.
I forgot Kornheiser was on.
Yeah.
No, he should stick to Pardon the Interruption.
Absolutely.
That's his thing.
Oh, totally. He's great on that.
Are you working? Where are you at this weekend?
This weekend, I'm at the Comedy Store all 3 nights.
It's funny, the two clubs being only in this town, so big. This is a town in New York, because you have 2 comedy clubs a half a mile away from each other, and they're both thriving.
Oh, totally.
I mean, they have their ups and downs, but basically they're always, the Comedy Store is really hot now, and Laugh Factory is pretty consistent, and the Improv, but it's amazing. Think about that. Imagine Pittsburgh having 2 comedy. It wouldn't work.
Oh no, they don't even have one anymore.
It'd be fucking blank. Don't they really?
Mm-mm. No, actually, they got an Improv, but it's way out of town.
Yeah, I've been to that
Way out
one.
of there. Yeah, I don't like it.
Yeah, I went to like right near Christmas one time. It was pretty bad.
Yeah, they just built it too far away. A lot of these Improvs, they build them so far out of the city. Like they put them in the suburbs. You better hope you draw. Otherwise it's going to be tough.
Well, people would think that if I'm from Philly, people would think that Pittsburgh and Philly, there's nothing.
Nothing. No one even cares. They're like, oh, you're from Pittsburgh. I'm from Philly. It's an 8-hour drive. I have no idea.
People in Pittsburgh are more competitive with Cleveland than they are with Philly. And more,
Yeah, there's no rivalry. Maybe the Flyers and the Penguins used to have one back in the day. But that's about it.
When they were good. I was a Dolphins fan, and I always get especially about the Steelers because they've had so many great teams. And those arguments that nobody will ever fucking win.
Yeah.
The thing about, Ali would have beaten Joe Marciano, whatever it is. And I always got, come on, you're not going to tell me the 75 Steelers wouldn't have fucking killed the Dolphins that were undefeated. I go, well, I'm not saying, all I'm saying is it's never going to happen.
Yeah.
So you can have all the theories you want. It ain't gonna. Joe Louis is not gonna box against Mike Tyson.
Maybe in a video game.
Well, that's the cool. Remember when they had those computer animated things?
I loved them.
That's pretty funny.
Yeah, those are great.
The 62 Packers against the greatest show on turf.
Yeah, the Rams.
I mean, the one thing you got to say is the size difference is immense. I mean, the size difference between offensive linemen now and in the 50s, holy shit.
Oh, yeah.
Some of those guys were only like 200 pounds.
Well, in the 50s, those guys didn't even work out. That's why they really needed to have those preseasons because they were so out of shape from just drinking all off season. Now those guys are jacked 24/7. That's all they do.
It is funny when you think they didn't even work out. Like that's why you can't compare. It's like look at Bill Russell. Bill Russell's 6'9". Now look at Magic and LeBron. They're about 6'8", 6'9". There's no comparison in their bodies.
No.
Bill Russell's like a big he's like a giant.
Yeah.
You know, the way he moves, the way he dribbles like he has to look at the ball.
Mm-hmm.
And these guys are like, boom, forget it.
Yeah.
It's
Completely
completely different era. Did you watch the NBA Finals?
A little bit, yeah. I mean, the games were so bad in terms of they were like 30-point blowouts either way
Yeah.
each time. But I watched Game 7 was great, so I kind of follow. I followed both teams actually all year. I loved the Warriors because they were just fun to watch. Steph Curry was great, but I kind of root for LeBron. I got a rooting interest for him. So to watch him win it,
Why do you have a rooting interest for him?
I just like him. I like players when everybody hates him. So when people just started to hate him because he was so great, the way they hated Kobe, the way they hated Barry Bonds, I turned to gravitate towards those guys, and I want to see them kind of turn the tide and become victorious. So to watch LeBron,
it's very magnanimous of you, my friend.
Thank you.
Well,
I'm interested in the villain. I like the villains.
But the thing is, LeBron's not really a villain. But I understand what you're saying. They made him one.
Yeah.
But what the fuck did he ever do? I mean, Kobe, I could see.
Sure.
Because he was just a Barry Bonds, especially, I could see.
Mm-hmm.
But Kobe kept to himself and was a gunner and all. LeBron, he doesn't pass enough sometimes. I mean, he passes too much rather. He's like so fucking good. Yeah. I don't know. I mean, that comparison shit. Oh God, I feel like hanging myself.
It's just those guys who call into sports talk radio. It's what they like to talk about, but you're never going to win the argument. It's like two guys arguing about where they went to college.
Yeah,
trying to make the other guy decide that Notre Dame is better. They're never going to do it.
Well, like political arguments. Have you ever seen anyone? Have you ever seen anyone in a political argument go at one point you know what? You're right.
Not once.
You've really changed my mind. I can't believe this. I came in here a Democrat, and now I'm a Republican.
Yeah.
How did you do it?
Never. Everyone's just rooting for their home team.
Who are you voting for?
Clinton, it looks like.
Yeah. Because you like her or because you don't like Trump?
A little of both. I don't know who the Republicans would have to put up for me to vote Republican. It would have to be somebody pretty amazing.
Bernie. Bernie will be Republican.
If Bernie was Republican, maybe. I kind of stayed out of the whole Bernie Hillary thing. I thought let them fight it out.
Right.
And I'll vote for whoever wins.
Where's he been all my life? I've never heard of this fucking guy. And now
Senator in Vermont. He's been
there
forever. Yeah.
It must have been. Anyway, he's pretty old. What's he, about 80?
Close. 70s for sure. Those guys. I mean, you got like a senator from Vermont is going to be the most liberal guy you've ever met in your whole life. I don't know how he got as far as he did, but he's been around.
Wow. I never heard of him. I'm not much into politics.
Me neither. I just don't, no matter what, it's not going to change that much. I got excited about Obama. Didn't really change anything. You just hope that for the sake of the Supreme Court, that you get your right person in.
Their powers are so limited, let's face it. I mean, a president, to get something passed, got to go through Congress and all that, and the judicial system, the three branches of government. It's very limited. I mean, unless you do it like declare a non-war like George Bush did with Iraq. What did he call it? Remember? It wasn't
mission accomplished.
I don't know. It wasn't like a war, but it was
whatever,
some kind of military action.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't use the word war.
The incursion.
Yeah, right. You can't declare it a war.
Yeah.
So where are you going? Are you doing a lot of comedy clubs, theaters? What?
I've been in town. I put out a special on Netflix about a year ago in October, and once that was out, I just wiped the slate clean with my hour, and I was like, I'm just going to get up in town. It's the first time I was able to do that financially, is just stay in town and work on the new hour. So when I start to tour again, I've got a whole new hour and I can have fun. Usually, you finish the hour, you go out and you got maybe 10 new minutes, and you start kind of building with that, doing the old stuff.
Yeah.
I don't like doing the old stuff once I've put it out in a special. I like to have the new. So right now I'm at about close to half an hour. I'm hoping by the end of the year I'm good. I'm close enough to an hour that I can go out and really hit the road.
I've been around so fucking long that a lot of my old stuff is new stuff.
Mm-hmm. You remember things? You're like, oh yeah, I forgot about this.
Because people your age wouldn't have even seen it.
Mm-hmm.
Isn't that hilarious? Like, I'm going to Montreal. You going to Montreal?
Yeah, I'm going to be there for a couple of days.
Oh, good. We'll have a beer. We'll talk about the podcast. You want me to make people? A lot of people know you. I don't have to make a fuss over you.
No, I'm good.
Okay,
I'm good
because I've done that for people. Because I'm like such a big wheel up there. I'll go, Timmy.
Yeah.
Timmy. So that it makes it more important.
Do you like Montreal? Do you enjoy it?
I love it.
I used to really love it, and I started to get kind of the more successful I got, the more annoying it became. At first I would go and I would do a couple of 10-minute sets here and there, hang out with my friends.
Yeah.
Then I'm co-headlining a show at midnight, so I gotta stay sober all night. I gotta do this show.
Oh, yeah.
Next year I'm doing an hour every night at like 10 o'clock at night, so I can't hang out with anybody, and I gotta worry about the show. I'm not making any money, and the venue's like the size of this room, where you're playing for like 20
Did
people.
you
that
do
I thought,
Ari's show with the storytelling?
I don't really do storytelling on stage. I'm not a fan.
Really?
I'm just not good at it. I just like these guys are so good. When I'm on stage, I'm a joke guy. So if I don't get a joke if I don't get a laugh every 30 seconds or something, I start to panic.
Yeah, I guess I lean towards that more.
Yeah.
Although I don't know how to write a joke, that's what ends up in the final thing. Like I don't know how you write, but I can't just sit there and write like the Woody Allen style.
Mhm.
But like, for instance, I was at a doctor's. Just a stupid thing like this, you can run with it. Every time I get an antibiotic or something, I always ask because I like to drink, right? As you can tell by my bloated fucking head. But he goes, I said, Doc, can I have alcohol with this? He goes, we don't recommend it. As soon as he said that, I knew there was a joke here. Like, who the fuck recommends it?
Yeah.
What doctor would go, I'm going to give you these pills under one condition, get sloshed every night. But, that's the way I write it. So it's like so tedious.
Yeah.
It's not like I have this big canvas of all these jokes lined up and I'm painting this picture,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I keep it short. I like the wording is very important, which is almost it's frustrating to me. The way that you can kind of go into a premise and explain it, and your personality comes through as you're telling the story. I don't really get to do that. I kind of have to. I have this idea. I can make it work. How can I kind of hide the punchline in as few words as possible,
Right.
and get there, and be super quick and efficient with it? But even if I get a great joke, like a huge laugh, it's only going to be a minute. 45 seconds of stage time. So that can be frustrating after a while.
I was never one of those guys where they said, I need to do an hour because otherwise the stories won't make sense. Like, I need to go on as fast as I can and get the fuck off, hopefully doing well.
That's what I think. In a club, 45, maybe 50 if I'm working on something. In a theater, I need an hour. In a theater, I feel like if I do 45, people feel cheated. But these guys who do like an hour and a half, yeah, exactly. Just an hour, and an hour is all you need. But those guys who want to go up and do like 2.5 hours, the second show is like the audience is waiting for an hour and a half. Like,
yeah, that's ridiculous.
Why do you do that? And who's happy about it? If I was watching the show, I'd be mad. And if I'm waiting for the show, I'm furious.
And if you're one of the waitresses whose money's getting cut into and they're already served the last round an hour ago. Carlos Mencia was like famous for that.
Yeah, Mencia. Ralphie May, who I love, loves to do that. I always feel bad for the staff. Like when the staff cuts somebody off and they're like, no, actually, give them one more round. I hate that. Like you can't go against the staff.
It's so fucking selfish.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, totally.
I hate that. I hate especially in the clubs when somebody does long.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
I can't. Especially if a feature act goes long or an MC goes long. It's their show all of a sudden. Can't stand that.
Well, it's funny because I had a thing, and a friend of mine. Remember Tampa Side Splitters? You ever worked there?
Never worked Side Splitters. I did the improv.
Improv. Anyway, the guy did, normal amounts, and he even came up short till the first show Saturday night. Now, the first show Saturday night is generally one of the best crowds, if not the best crowd. And he did like 15, 20 minutes over. He got fired.
Good.
Yeah, it was so weird. I mean, and I was looking forward to he was my friend's boyfriend, and I was looking forward to working with him. And like I couldn't unfire him.
Oh yeah, you can't have that.
Fucking ridiculous. I mean, what are you thinking?
Oh, I hate when the MC of the feature, they think they just get too excited. They're new, and they get these laughs, and they think, oh, they're here. They want to see more. They want to see more.
Yeah.
Nobody wants, no matter how well you're doing as an MC or a feature, everybody wants you off the stage.
Yeah.
So the headliner.
Vinny Brand?
Yeah.
Okay, Vinny, one time, we're doing Wildwood, and he was supposed to do, say, 15 minutes, and he did like 25 or 30, and he swore that he didn't. And Vinny, we have the clocks. We're right here. No, I said, like, what the fuck?
Yeah, it's easy to prove.
It's really easy to prove. I mean, did you ever work that place, the Wildwood thing?
The Wildwood, I've done his Stress Factory. I've never done.
Wildwood's much further south.
Never done that.
It was just a summer gig. The Stress Factory is good.
Yeah, I did that once. Really enjoyed myself there.
It's good when you get the owner that goes up and does the neat half hour before the show starts.
It's all the local references. I mean, he kills. Every local reference you can possibly get.
Oh yeah,
he's such a character though. You gotta forgive him.
Oh, I like him. Yeah, I've actually worked with him a few times. Like if I'm doing Atlantic City or something. I always hate to say he opened for me. I feel so full of myself.
Oh, I'd love to say it.
He danced for me. Where's your favorite place to work?
Oh, I mean, there's a lot of great cities. I mean, club wise, I love the Madison, Wisconsin club. What do they call that place?
I never worked it.
Comedy on State is a nice little club. The Austin club is great. Cap City is cool.
Yeah,
That Minneapolis club.
the one in the mall.
No, the other one. God, they're thinking about closing down right now because someone's going to build a building next door and take over their parking.
Oh,
It's been so long since I've been there. I mean, I usually do theaters now when I go to those big markets.
isn't it funny how many paths there are? Like to get back to LA and New York, it's comedy clubs. It's like, we probably hardly work the same clubs at all.
No,
Do you work Governors in brokerage?
I've done it a couple times. Really,
Yeah.
really like those guys.
Yeah.
But I usually
Jimmy the Can.
Yeah.
I love Jimmy.
Last time I was there, they told me Dice had been there the weekend before, and they remember how much they love Dice. I'd never met Dice, but I love the guy. And they said Dice.
You
left,
love him?
Oh, I love him. He left one of his gloves behind. When he cuts off the fingers, of leather gloves, and they're like, "We're so excited to have this." And I just said, "Give it to me. Like, I'm not going to beg for it, but I know you guys want me to come back here someday. Give me that glove." And they were
That's
so
funny.
disappointed, but they had to do it. I still have the glove.
We've had some problems, him and I.
You really? I can understand that. I've never met him, but I loved the day the laughter died was a big deal for me.
Well,
That
people
was great.
say to me that I hate him, and I don't hate him. I just don't like him. But he takes care of my friend Eleanor Kerrigan,
Mm.
he takes her on the road. They were engaged at one time. You know Eleanor?
No.
You probably met her at the store and don't even realize. But you've seen it. She's around a lot. Anyway, as long as he takes care of her, I'd rather put my feelings aside and
Sure.
I want him to be successful so that she works all the time.
Mm-hmm.
They got dropped. I heard.
Oh, that Showtime
Vinyl.
show? What do you mean?
Yeah, he was on that Showtime show. Vinyl.
Oh, yeah. Oh, no, Vinyl, I don't know if he was on Vinyl. Vinyl got canceled, but he had his own show on Showtime.
No, but he was on Vinyl.
I didn't know. I didn't really watch Vinyl.
Oh,
One of the reasons I think I probably like him is because I've never met him. You know people like that where you're like, oh, this guy seems like he might be a jerk. I've never met him, but I think I enjoy what he's done.
well, I think he's a terrific actor. I wouldn't. I think his act is funny at times, but I wouldn't want to be stuck in that character at 60.
No.
You know what I mean? Like that's a character for 25. Hey, he's a tough guy because he's really tough. He's really 25.
Yeah.
When you're really 60,
Yeah.
you got hemorrhoids.
Yeah. I thought about when I was starting this comedy, I thought about like how my character would age. If you can be cocky and kind of smart, your whole life, but if you have too much energy, those guys who dance around and they're like, you can't do that forever.
No.
You're going to get tired of that. You're going to hate doing that.
Well, you never know, like, because I don't know how I've lasted this long. And somebody said maybe because you're just silly and kind of dirty.
Mm-hmm.
Somehow I've made the transition. I'm not saying I'm the hottest fucking actor in the world, but I make it. I still I'm still out there.
Yeah.
And it's very weird because I don't know what the difference is. And there's no game plan. I was doing Cleveland. You ever do Hilarities?
Never done Hilarities.
Well, that's a great club. That's the one club I would recommend your agents get you in because you draw.
Oh yeah, I mean, I sell out clubs.
Yeah, that's great.
My agent usually has me sticking to improvs for some whatever reason. I stopped doing funny bones after I got in a fight with somebody.
Well, but you don't even do the Columbus one?
That's where I got in the fight.
Oh no shit! What happened?
Yeah, the guy who's the guy who like books it. He's not the owner, but he books it.
Dave
Stroop.
Stroop.
Yeah, Stroop. I come in on a like Wednesday night. Stroop's supposed to pick me up from the airport. No idea. I call him. I have to wake him up and come get me. He's like, I thought you were coming in the next day, so I'm already mad. And then I have a feature that I bring with me, and he's like, "You're not bringing your feature. It's not in your contract to bring a feature. I've got this other guy, so your feature can go back home." I'm like, "I already paid for a ticket.
We're already off to a bad start."
Yeah, and why are you treating me like this? When you're the headliner, they're like, "What can we do for you?" And asking for my own feature act is not like a diva thing by any means. And he says, not in your contract, not in your contract. And I'm getting angry and angry. And I'm like, what is the problem? No one's ever treated me like this. Every club raves about my behavior. I'm right. And he says, well, to be honest, I probably shouldn't be telling you this, but your agent and I got in a fight about some other clients a couple weeks ago, and now I'm taking it out on you. He tells me this on the Thursday before I have to do any of the shows. And I was so angry that I even had to be there. But I was professional. I did the shows, and I just told him, I'll never do another funny bone. I'll never work one of your clubs as long as we're around.
Excuse me, that's unusual because I don't know that side of him.
I mean, he was even nice when he was saying it, And people have told me, he's a nice guy,
Yeah,
but he's told people like I blew it with Jeselnik. Like I should not have said that or acted that way.
yeah.
But I don't tolerate that kind of noise.
I hear you, motherfucker. I
Yeah,
don't.
yeah,
Yeah, I
exactly.
mean, I wouldn't tolerate it either. I'm just surprised it was Dave because,
I was surprised. I kept calling people, being like, "Who is this guy?" And they're like, "No, he's great. He's a nice guy." You know.
well, he was very honest to say that. I mean, it's like not your fault that he had to fight with your agent. I mean, agents are called agents for a reason.
Exactly. But
You know.
don't. But maybe tell me that on Sunday. Don't
Yeah,
tell me that on
right.
Thursday before I got to do all this
Put it in
stuff.
your head.
Exactly. Yeah.
Well, I'm sorry you don't like that club because I think that's one of the best clubs in the
I like
country.
Columbus. I like going back and playing there.
Is there another club there for you to
There's a
work?
couple theaters
Oh
I
yeah.
can perform at. Yeah.
And what gave you the power to draw in theaters? The TV show?
The roast, kind of, mostly the
Oh, you're
TV show.
you're really
Like,
good in the roast, right?
thank you. Yeah. The roast kind of changed my life. I was kind of just a comic working. I'd worked in television as a writer, and did a couple TV spots. But I would go and do clubs like Funny Bones and Stanford and Sons, things like that, where most people were there to see comedy, not me. And I'm so dark that people would get upset. So it'd be these weird shows. And I did the Donald Trump roast in 2010, maybe 2011, and then the next day it was like sold out clubs, people waiting to
Isn't
come and
that
hear
cool?
me be dark, which was great. And then the TV show got me into theaters. The TV show, and like not huge places, like 1,000, 1,500 seat
No, it's
theaters,
still
but
good.
it's nice to do one show and get out of there.
And then, yeah,
You don't have to worry about how drunk the crowd's going to be. If it's a bachelor party,
yeah,
it's less stressful that way.
yeah. The clubs can be hard. I mean, I like flying to Boston, getting up at 4 o'clock in the morning our time to do. You do Boston at all?
I've done the Wilbur Theater there. That's the only place because the clubs don't really bring in outside talent. They've got so much of their own. They don't really need to bring in people. So I never got to play there.
When I was there for the heyday of Boston, it was so fucking hot that they had acts that never left there, and it hurt their careers because they were
Mhm.
really good, but they were just making so much money.
There was that one guy I remember from Boston.
Bill,
He had a mustache,
Bill Blumenreich,
maybe
big guy.
not that big. Had a mustache and he was always on those Dennis Leary specials, and he was so funny, but he only had Boston material.
Tony V. Yeah.
I don't know if I'd even know the name if you said it, but I remember seeing these guys and be like, these guys are hilarious, but they only seemed like they played Boston.
Yeah, there's a lot of good guys up there. That was one of the towns when I was coming up. Boston and San Francisco were kind of like the other towns that groomed really good comedians.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Did you start in Cleveland
No,
or in Philly?
I started acting in Miami, but I didn't start stand up until I went to New York.
Mm.
Because Philly hardly had anything. Because I started in like 1980,
Wow.
and there was no really comedy clubs there. I can't fucking believe I'm alive, let alone doing stand up this long.
So you've been doing it 36 years now?
Is that what it is?
80 to 36.
Oh shit!
I keep waiting for 20 is what the number that I look at. I always heard like 20 is when you become like a
Yeah,
great comic,
I've heard that too. That was
Yeah.
the magic number.
Yeah, but I feel you can get burned out. Like I'm almost at 14. I'll be at 14 in a couple months, and I can't believe I got another 6 to go to get to 20. It seems like I've already kind of done everything. Not everything in terms of like accomplishments, just in terms of, for younger comics it's different now. Where you got to put out a new hour every couple of years. Where I've already done 3 hours, which is a career for
Yeah,
for most people, but you just got to keep churning it out. Burr and Louis kind of raised that bar.
yeah. I don't know how they do it. I mean, I haven't seen Louis that much. And not that he's not a friend, but we're comrades in the whole
Sure.
bullshit of comedy. But Burr's a good friend of mine. I just am amazed at how prolific he is.
Mm-hmm.
Was
he always that way, or did he just suddenly just like turn it on?
He got better.
Yeah.
I mean, the thing about it is one of the things I think it's like athletics. You can get better or worse.
Mm-hmm.
There's no guarantee that, it's dynamic. It's not like just frozen. Here you get to this level and then you're always at that level. It's not true.
Yeah.
And I get guys like around my age that get bitter. Now, if you're going to be bitter, you better be fucking funny bitter. Because if you're just bitter, sad bitter,
Nobody wants to see it. Yeah.
And one of the signs is nobody else is funny.
Uh-huh.
You know what I mean?
Uh-huh.
That fucking kills me. I mean, first of all, your group, with your age, has some great comedians now. I personally think that your group is better than the group I came up with, even though we have Seinfeld and a couple of guys. There weren't as many really good writers, performers. It was, it was a different day. You know, it was mostly Jewish comedians and first of all, not to knock that, but Jewish comedians are the best. You know, they're certainly the backbone of writing,
Hmm.
show business. You know, there's a lot, but now it's really diversity. We got Muslims, we got everything, and it's there's parts of the world. Russell Peters goes to Asian. You know, it's
Hmm.
way different now. You know,
Do you think it's just numbers? I mean, like your group of comedians, there couldn't have been. I mean, you probably all knew each other. Now it seems like
yeah,
way more people become comedians now as opposed to
yeah,
back
oh
then.
yeah, much more, much
Yeah.
much more. I mean, like when my HBO special that it was I was Roddy Dangerfield, and we had Dice and Schimmel, Bill Hicks, Barry Sobel, Carol Leifer, and Lenny Clark,
Oh wow.
and that's a good group. I mean, they all had good careers.
Yeah.
You know, it's definitely different. I mean, of course, it's going to change. I mean, now the only thing that cracks me up or like maybe bothers me a little, quote artistically, is the idea that you can really make it big on YouTube. But the only thing is, a lot of those guys go around once.
Oh, absolutely. They've got nothing. A lot of those YouTube guys are now doing stand up because they can make money. Like their fans will go out and buy tickets. They can sell tickets, but they can't do anything on stage at all. Like I saw an episode of At Midnight the other night, and it was 3 YouTube stars, and I had no idea what I was watching. I mean, it was like
Right,
a
right.
foreign language to me that I don't understand how they do it. It doesn't seem funny to me at all. But
Yeah,
they
but
they
there's
do well
millions of
enough.
kids who watch it. Who's that guy? He's an Asian kid who won Comedian of the Year or stand up, whatever the stand up award was. I was going to say Mao Zedong. It wasn't Mao Zedong. But what the fuck's
That fan?
that fan?
Oh yeah, yeah.
You know what he said to me? And a really nice kid. He goes, "Thanks a lot for doing this show." Because I basically closed his show, and what they did was they gave me a percentage, so I made money because he was so popular.
Hmm.
I mean, I had an okay draw in San Francisco, but he fucking packed the place.
Yeah.
Not that many Asian comedians ever, not that many Asian fans ever saw me.
Mhm.
But
Mhm.
it was interesting the 25 minutes he had, and he said, "I only have 25. I can't go over it."
Yeah, it was right after the last comic, right? When
Yeah,
a lot of those guys got ruined because they had to go be headliners.
yeah,
They had national attention, but they couldn't do more than 25. And the 25 they had, people have been watching it on TV for 8 weeks. So it was that was tough for them.
that was one and done. Did you work with Jeff Ross?
Mhm. Yeah.
I got to tell you something funny about Jeff. Because I was the guy. I was the young comedian at the Friars Club doing the roast when I was when I was coming. I was the kid, and then I brought Jeff in, and he got he started doing well, and he's one of the only guys I could say in comedy that I really felt could have helped me and didn't. You know what I mean? I don't do things for people and expect a reciprocation, but in this case, because I was roasting was my kind of my thing too,
Mhm.
because I got like the same kind of anger and the thing that you have,
Yeah.
like and sarcastic, fucking little bit mean.
Yeah. Yeah.
But Jeff, I'm fine with him now, but I just thought it was so interesting that he just never gave back, like. And the funny one of the funniest things about he did my podcast, and I'm saying this to you now. If there's anything that you don't like what you said, we can always edit it.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? If you say something about some, and I don't want to start bad mouthing that guy or
Yeah.
whatever. So that but he was the only one. Can you imagine? Out of everybody, and I've had so many fucking comedians, he's the only one that got things edited.
Really?
The guy who talks about how big somebody's cunt is, you could drive a truck through a cunt, and he was the one that was worried about.
I mean, I love Jeff. He's a good friend of mine. He's done a lot for me. He's one of the, and this is a compliment, I think, most sensitive to other people's feelings comedians that I know, and that he really worries about what someone thinks, and
Oh yeah,
he will go out of his way, even if he's furious at someone. We did that Oddball tour together, and somebody would do something like walk out on stage and interrupt him, and he'd be so mad. And then the guy'd get in the van to go to the next airport, and Jeff would be like, "Hey, that was really funny, man. You were really funny up there." Like would compliment the guy, like just really is as political, and I think from a genuine place as you can get.
I always liked him. I had one other incident with him that made me fucking laugh. Because he's got a tremendous ego, and that doesn't sound good, but it's good on
Oh, I
some
think you
level.
need it. Like if you're a quarterback, you need to have a
You
big
do,
ego. If
yeah. I
you're a
mean,
good comedian, you gotta have.
I was watching a special on Tom Brady, and he just said, "I'm going to show you that I'm better than him.
Yeah.
You know, I'm better than Brian Greasy. I'm better than whoever you put me up against." But Jeff, they called me up. I have a big draw in the Atlantic City, Philly area.
Mhm.
You know, that's where my biggest draw is. So I headline casinos, but like really like headline the casino. You know, not the comedy club. You know, when I can't do that everywhere. And they called me up and they asked me if I mind if Jeff Ross opened for me. And I always call it worked with me. You know, not that I'm so fucking humble, but I just don't like to make an act of his caliber to act
Of
like he's an
course.
opening act. And they were giving, they told me the money for some reason. They go, give them $7,500 for the show or whatever. Maybe it was 2 shows, but whatever it was, I said it's fine with me. I like Jeff. He calls me up on that Saturday in my room, and he says, "Who's opening the show? Who's?" And I'm thinking, "Are you out of your fucking mind? I got you the gig.
Yeah.
You think I would like go get somebody to close for me, to headline for me?" And I said to him, "You know what, Jeff? You should talk to the producer about this. Because I'm thinking, I don't care. I'll go on first.
Yeah.
I'm the one that drew everybody. You want to follow that? Go ahead.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, isn't that fucking hilarious?
I hate when comics talk money to me. Like if we're on the same show and they're bitching about their money, like I don't want to talk about it. It's not my job.
Not only that, you already made the deal.
Exactly.
Don't fucking make the deal and then bitch about it the whole time.
Mm-hmm.
I had David Spade on one time, and he was funny because he goes, if you forget the freedom we have in podcast, and he was standing up. He was like kind of, we did a goof on Todd Glass. You know Todd Glass?
Of course, yeah. Good friend.
All right, so Todd, you know how sensitive Todd is, right?
Yeah.
He's so fucking sensitive. And the one time they called me up in Florida, from the Florida. Did you ever do Paul and Young Ron?
Yeah.
And those guys. Well, they call me up to bust Todd's balls. They know I like him, but they know how sensitive he is. So I call up the radio station and Todd. I said, "Todd Glass, you know him?" I said, "I love Todd." I said, and he goes. I said, I didn't know that this was true. I said, Todd's the headliner, but he's like a Tuesday, Wednesday, and Sunday headliner. But they bring in the real headliner for the weekend, right? Now I would have never done this if I knew that was the truth. That's what
he was doing there?
Yeah. Oh. And he says, "You never thought I was funny, did you?" I said, "Todd, I always thought you were funny. I go not laugh out loud funny, but humorous, right?" And all this stuff. And I'm thinking, I had no idea, that he was really getting his feelings hurt by me busting his balls. And then we talked about it, and I apologized. I really didn't. I would never hurt him, And I said, "Why don't we do a goof? You come on my podcast." Spade wanted to come on the podcast, and this is pretty cool. Todd's sitting up there doing the podcast, and David walks in the room. I go, "Holy shit, David Spade, Saturday Night Live, movies." I go, "Todd, listen, man, I don't mean to be rude, but I'm gonna have to let you go."
Yeah.
Right. And it was a really funny scene because he went with it,
That's great.
And David said, he could stay, but just don't talk.
Yeah.
Right. But anyway.
That's great. There's a great Willie Nelson line that reminds me of. Willie Nelson said, "If I hurt your feelings, then I'm sorry. But if I made you mad, then fuck you." Which is a great way to look at things. He goes, if you really hurt your friend's feelings, then you apologize.
Yeah.
If someone's just mad at you, they're jealous about something, then they can go fuck off.
Yeah.
There's no big deal. But the hardest I've ever laughed in my life was the first time I saw Todd Glass live. I was in LA. I just moved here. I don't think I'd even started doing comedy yet. But I went to a show when he was the headliner and was just on the floor laughing, just sweating laughing. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my God, was he funny?
Yeah. I would have. I never saw the. I never heard the interview when he came out.
Mm-hmm. That Mark Maron thing.
Mark Maron, yeah. I would have loved to have heard that. I've known Todd since he was a teenager.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah.
He was like 18 or 19 when I met him. One time he did a bit of mine on. He's a young kid. In his defense, he had no idea he would get caught. He did a bit like in Westchester, Pennsylvania, some little fucking bar, and it gets back to me. Right? So I'm busting his balls. It was a bit about smoking. I hate when people smoke on my face. I have a nasty habit spitting. But I would never sit at lunch with somebody. How was your day? I had a rough one. You know. And he did the bit verbatim. And somebody called me. They had seen him. So when the next time I saw him, I told him, I said, he totally denied it, right? And then all these years later, I think it was on my podcast, he admitted he did it. He goes, I'm sorry, I was a kid. It was just so funny. Let it go.
I love that would torture him.
That's hilarious. Yeah. Well, he's vulnerable. You can really get to him.
I don't know how anyone comes back from taking a joke or borrowing a joke. I mean, there's a lot of accusations thrown around that I don't think are true. But when someone actually does it, who was the guy? Was it a kid named Daniel Kino? Do you remember this kid?
No.
He's a kid from Boston, and he was just kind of going up through the scene, and he was taking everyone's stuff. And when you go on the road, he would really steal. Like, he would borrow things, and then he would steal on the road, and then he came back into town, and all the Boston guys got him in a room to confront him about it and basically threaten him.
Oh, wow.
And there was a reporter from the Boston Globe was there at the meeting and wrote about it. There was like a front page article about like, this is what happens when someone gets caught cheating.
Yeah.
Stealing stuff in comedy. He's still doing it, I think.
Really?
I don't know how.
He's still stealing or still doing comedy?
He's still around. He's still doing comedy. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, Rogan killed Carlos's career.
Destroyed him. And that video was, I mean, people were always, like, everyone steals jokes. I mean, I don't mean comedians. I mean people. You hear a joke, you tell it to someone. You don't have to say, oh, I heard this from Jeff. You just say, I've got this joke for you. So people don't really get that mad. If they love a comic, they'll say, like the big thing on Mencia was, oh, he told it funnier. Or Mencia was better when he did it.
He's a better performer.
Exactly,
yeah, that's not an excuse for doing it.
Not an excuse at all. Yeah. But that Rogan video really crushed him.
Really Joe's really focused on that, and that's his thing. I don't know comedians that well because I try not to watch. And the reason I try not to watch is not because I'm above it. It's because I don't want to get influenced.
100%. I used to watch Dave Attell at the Comedy Cellar when I was in New York every night. And then I started doing his mannerisms, like not his jokes, but I would do like the ha ha ha. I would do these like laughs on stage. I thought, oh, I got to stop watching him.
Yeah.
And I thought I was the only one. And I said it to Esty, the Esty, the book of the Cellar. And she was like, yeah, there's a lot of people who I see who should stop watching Dave Attell. Who need to be careful about who they watch. Absolutely. But going back to joke thieves, I think when a young kid does it, you kind of understand. Because when you start doing comedy, you kind of steal from your favorites for like a year. Not so much their jokes, but their personality. Yeah. You can see the guy who loved Hedberg growing up.
Idiosyncrasies.
Exactly. And after a year, you better find your own thing. But when an established guy does it, that is the biggest fuck you to comedy in general.
I've had a couple of them. The saddest one for me was Lewis Black. And finally, because him and I used to be really good friends, and I don't want to lose my friend over a line. I'll give him the fucking line. Mm-hmm. But what happened was I had this joke. Not a big deal. Laughter is the best medicine. Actually, medicine is the best medicine. That's why they call it medicine. Laughter is nice. Once you get 102 fever, I would suggest an antibiotic over a joke book.
Yeah.
All right. So they did this joke of the year thing in the New York Post. Lewis is one of the wins, he's one of the 5 winners, right? And then it's my joke. So he's fucking caught red-handed.
Yeah, and that means that he gave it to them over the phone, not even or emailed it to them. It's not even like he was doing it on stage and they heard it. That's even worse, I think.
Yeah, but and he lied to me. He said that I never saw you do it, and him and I were tight, and we were so tight that he was doing Montreal, and they were asking him to host one of the shows, the galas. He said, "I'll only do it if Dom does it with me." Wow. And it was very nice, and and I swear to God, Anthony, if he said to me, "Do me a favor, can I have that fucking joke?" I would have given it to him.
Yeah.
But anyway, he denied. I said, "Lewis, we fucking worked together." He said, "I never saw you do it." I said, "But I remember you in the room in Ireland when I did that joke." And then finally, he had a couple drinks in Kilkenny. Did you ever go to Kilkenny?
Done the Dublin version of Kilkenny.
Oh, okay.
I haven't done Kilkenny though.
You should. I hope that you get to do it someday. It's really cool.
I'd love to.
But he said, "You know what about that joke?" He says, "I panicked." He says, I can't write jokes like that." And I said, "Well, neither can I. That's why I noticed it because people were calling me. That's why I wasn't reading the New York Post. But that's why I would have known it was my joke because I'm not a good joke writer. And he just basically, and I just let him off the hook right there. I go, it's enough. You don't have to fucking grovel, but
Yeah.
you know.
Well, there's theft, and there's like I was in the room watching, and you, like because you can think of something later on just because you saw it in a room. You're
Yeah.
not paying attention. You're hitting on a waitress or something, and all of a sudden you're like, "Oh yeah, I've heard of this joke." Like I've said to friends, "What do you think of this joke?" And they go, "That's my joke." I'm like, "Oh okay,
Yeah,
got it. Thank you, thank you for
I did
saying
that. I called up a woman in New York and I said, "What do you think of this?" She goes, "I think it's very funny. I wrote it." I go,
that."
well, I'm not going to steal it I'm not going to call up the person. I've had that a couple times. I did a joke about a long time ago about the Rolling Stones or something, and I asked a friend of mine to watch it, and he's back trying to pick up the waitresses in the back, and he didn't remember. The next night he did it on stage, and his other friend said, "That's Dom's." He goes, "I never heard Dom do it." And he called me up. "Did you do this?" I go, "I did it last night. You didn't. You were supposed to be fucking watching me. You're trying to get laid." He goes, "I'm sorry." I said, "That's all right.
Yeah,
I know it wasn't malicious."
yeah.
Seinfeld, I asked him to help me with a bit. Right, we're at the Laugh Factory. We're at the vestibule at the Laugh Factory, and he goes, "I said, Jerry, what is it about? Who do we really root for when we root for sports teams?" And that was the theme of it. We're rooting for the owner, we're rooting for the uniform, rooting for the city. Who are we rooting for, right? And Jerry did it on Letterman. He goes, "Who are we rooting for? Laundry?"
Yeah, I remember
Right?
the bit, yeah.
So I called him up. I go, "Hey, and like, I'm a wise ass. I go, Jerry, thanks a lot for helping me with that bit by doing it on Letterman." I says, "Now that I see that it works, I can do it at Bananas." Right? And he goes, "What are you talking about?" I said, "Well, that bit I asked you for help and you did it on Letterman 2 weeks later." He goes, "I don't remember that." I says, "Jerry, you remember every fucking cotton ball that went by you. You're the most observant, brilliant comedian I've ever met." So long story short, he didn't. He said, "You can use it." I can't use it.
Yeah,
You're too
it's yours
fucking
now.
famous. Once
Yeah.
people do it, once you did it. So I was in that movie, Comedian,
Yeah, one of my favorite movies.
and I was in it, but not in it.
Mhm.
I introduced, who was the guy they made fun of?
Orny Adams.
Orny Adams. I introduced Orny, and I was part of it that they couldn't cut out really. And the payroll was coming up, and then we had to sign releases to get paid. And I wouldn't sign it. And I said to my publicist called me. They want you to sign this thing, and I wanted, you'll hear at the end. I wanted this. They called me up, and I go, I'm not gonna have Jerry call me, and I'll sign it. And she tells the lady says, "Well, I don't think that's going to happen," not knowing that me and Jerry are friends. And I said, "Tell her I don't think I'm going to sign it." And she's thinking, "What is wrong with this fucking guy?" Like all he's going to do is get paid.
Yeah.
So Jerry calls me up, and he starts him and Han talking, just regular bullshit. Then he gets to the thing about signing it. I go, "Yeah, I'll sign it." And I go to Scotland for 3 weeks, with having no intention of signing it, just making him dangle. This fucking billionaire. Somebody's got him by the balls for one thing. So then he calls me up again when I come back. I still didn't sign it. And then finally he says, "Listen, man, if it's about that bit, I love you. I respect you. I would never steal from you consciously." He said, "I'm sorry." I said, "That's all you had to say. It's over." Right. And we've never been, I feel like I lost 2 friends to 2 bits,
Yeah.
but
Probably friends you would have lost anyway, I think.
what's that?
Probably friends you would have lost anyway.
Probably.
Something else.
Yeah. Yeah. I think Lewis, I don't know what's going on with him, but Jerry's Jerry. And, I get a kick out of him.
Mm-hmm. I've never met Jerry, but the movie Comedian meant a lot to me because it was like it came out right when I started doing stand-up. So like it just watching him go up and just saying you got to just write every day and perform every night, and that's how you get good at comedy. That was all I needed to hear.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, he's taught me a lot too about discipline and stuff, and about like I remember this is before we had money, and of course his money went out of sight, but we were flying. There was an airline called People's Express, and you could bump up for $50, right, to first class. So you want to do it? $50. Holy shit! Yeah, let's do it. Fucking there you go, right? And we're on the plane, and a couple things. I asked him about writing. He says 25 minutes every day. I sit there with the pencil and the pad, and if nothing comes up, I put in my time. I put in that 25 minutes, at least 25 minutes. But That's the way what his philosophy was, just to sit there, discipline yourself to sit there, and hopefully something comes. And the other one was about feelings. And I said to him, and this is so because he's such an android in some ways. It start getting turbulent. Oh fuck, I hate this shit. Grab him and like getting nervous and stuff. I said, doesn't this bother you? He goes, of course it bothers me, but there's nothing I can do about it. So I said, but the feelings, doesn't it scare you? He goes, yeah, but what about,
Yeah.
and like I just learned from him, like that kind of like when you can't do something about something, you're only compounding it by getting anxious,
Yeah. Yeah. That's good advice.
Yeah.
Yeah, I always heard about Jerry Seinfeld's, writing discipline, but whenever I see him, it's the same act. Even when he
Really?
famously kind of gave up, turned away, did his whole hour and then kind of built it up again for the movie.
You're seeing
It's
this
like
for the last
same.
time.
Yeah, it seems like you're still seeing the same stuff. He doesn't seem like he's got new jokes to try all
Really?
the time. Yeah,
No kidding.
yeah. That's the way. Maybe I just haven't seen him enough.
Yeah, I haven't seen him enough lately because he lives on the East Coast now, so he doesn't hang. When I first came out here, he was the guy that kind of took me up to Leno's house. That was a big deal. Took me around. He was very good to me. He always had a new Porsche, even in those days.
Yeah.
Jerry was making over $1 million before the series, a year.
Really?
Oh
Just
yeah.
do stand up.
Oh yeah.
Wow.
He was always fucking good, and he was always and very generous.
Yeah. There are those clean comics who can just go anywhere, who end up making a sneaky amount of money. You wouldn't believe it, but they can just.
Corporates.
Exactly. Yeah, corporates, colleges, but families will go see them. That's the trick to, I think, breaking out. Is like guys like you and me, we're big with comedy fans. If you like comedy, you know who we are, and you'll come watch us.
Yeah.
But when you become a huge star, it's when people who would never go to a comedy club, know who you are and want to go see you.
We were down at the Comedy Magic Club, and I was with Gary Shandling, and Jerry was on stage, and Gary's very sensitive, and Jerry said something blue, and they went, ooh. And then Gary goes, why are they doing that? I said, because he painted, that's his image.
Yeah.
I said, it's tarnished his image. He goes, they don't do that for me. I said, but you're a pig. He goes, really? I go, yeah, you really. I am too, but you're a pig. They're not going to be surprised at that.
Yeah, you're allowed to.
Jerry was, held on a higher standard. He even told me that. He said one time, he goes, I know that I painted myself into this corner and I can't get out of being a clean comedian. Because he's not like he doesn't say fuck and, when you're hanging out with him.
That's why I think he's funnier when he's on the couch in late night than he is in front of the mic on late night. Because when he sits down, he can be himself, and he's kind of like a surly older guy, and he's got opinions and he's mean about things, and it's very funny. And then he gets on stage and it's this very clean, clean act.
He has very little patience with people or formalities, and that's what him and Larry David kind of had in common. Like I don't know if did you watch Curb at all?
A little bit, yeah.
Well, there was one scene in Curb that really capsulizes Larry David because Susie Essman was in that. Do you know Susie? Mm-hmm. And she says, "Come on, I'll show you the new house." He goes, "I don't want to see the house." Remember that?
Yeah. Who's the architect?
Yeah, what the fuck, Larry? It's a house, our house. What am I going to see? And he's right.
Yeah.
But it's just so funny, like that kind of grumpy. I don't want to be bothered with this protocol bullshit.
Yeah, it felt like you're a little kid. What I got to make my bed, kind of thing. Only you never grow out of it.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that combination was interesting. I remember being at his house watching the Super Bowl. Excuse me, and they were writing the pilot. In the kitchen, Jerry ordered Domino's pizza. He doesn't want anybody to poop in his house. And he tells everybody, he goes, guys, if you want to pee, but if you have to go, I'd rather you didn't do it here. It's like a tour bus, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And tour buses, they tell you that.
But I can't imagine, even if you wanted that,
who tells
having the balls to tell your friends in a
well,
group.
it was all guys, so
Still.
it is.
That's even worse.
No, I couldn't do it. Yeah,
that's hilarious.
Yeah,
that's great.
Now, so Dave was one of your influences, Dave Attell?
Attell, no, I mean, not when I was coming up. Like when I was coming up, the guys I liked were the one-linery guys. I loved Stephen Wright. Stephen Wright was my favorite coming up. Dangerfield was a big one for me, and I kind of like the edgier guys. I loved Carlin, loved like the Def Comedy Jam guys. I didn't really love their comedy that much. I liked kind of the attitude of that, but those bits of like how did he think of it, that really killed me, and the drier people I really enjoyed growing up. But I think
Yeah.
the thing that helped me out the most was one of my biggest influences was Jack Handey, the writer for SNL. He
Hmm.
wasn't even a comedian. He wrote remember Deep Thoughts by Jack Handey?
No.
There'd be these things on SNL would be these really weird. It would just be a couple sentences.
Uh-huh.
Like it'll say something like, "I don't know. I'm afraid of clowns. I don't know where that comes from.
Right.
Maybe it goes back to the time I went to the circus and a clown killed my father." Like these very like absurd things
Right.
that like, and I just thought, how did he think of it? That's what really
Yeah.
grabbed
Well,
on.
that's like Dave does that with
Hmm.
one of my favorite. I don't know. I don't want to paraphrase it, but I have a fear of travel because my parents used to beat me with a globe. Did you ever hear that? Isn't that fucking brilliant? I mean,
So good.
that's so out there. When he did the podcast, we used to do it downstairs on the stage. I'm just waking up. Uh, and I said, Dave, you know, sometimes I don't think you, this is after the podcast. We're just getting our stuff together. I said, sometimes I don't think you realize how, how strong a comedian you are. He goes, Dom, he said, first of all, I hate my act, but more than anything, I hate myself. And I said, well, that's why you're funny.
Yeah.
You know?
Totally. I mean, you would never understand how much he kills. I mean, every comic worships him, and he just
Yeah.
cannot enjoy it. I mean, he's taped so many albums where he just won't release them. He's like, "This isn't good enough. This isn't funny." And they're like, "What are you talking about? You killed 6 nights in a row. These
Yeah.
jokes are great," and he just won't do it. That's why
Yeah.
his last special, I don't know if you saw it, was just him in 6 different places, coming out on stage and then just making fun of the venue for 10
Oh,
minutes, and they would go to commercial, come back at a different venue.
oh, that's funny.
It was the
No,
only way they could get him to actually do it, but he's one of the best.
I agree. Yeah, I would say. I mean, have you seen Rogan lately?
Yeah, I follow Rogan at the store a lot, so I get to see
Fucking
him a lot.
strong, huh?
Yeah, gotten so much better, so much
Yeah.
better.
Well, I think he has so much more joy in his life with his kids and the whole thing, and you can see it on stage. He's like he laughs. He never used to laugh on stage, not like he does now. Like he really actually enjoys it. I'm not saying I hate the fake laugh.
Of course.
Fucking drives me crazy. And I have a couple friends who do it. And but when Joe's smiling and laughing, he's for real.
Joe really attacks comedy the way that he's attacked like his own body. The way that he's attacked the MMA or different things in his life, and you can see that stand-up really means a lot to him.
Oh yeah,
People appreciate that.
He gets everything out of a bit. What I didn't tell you before about the Mencia thing, Joe's a really good pool player, like really good. Like he could, if he played, if he was failing enough at comedy, he could have probably got on a tour, the pro tour. He was that, he had to put in 6 hours a day, but that's not going to happen because he's too successful. So I'm like a good player for a regular guy, but not a good pool player for a pool player. And so what I would do to Joe is like when he's about to like hit the ball, I would start talking about Mencia. And he'd always fucking jerk the stick. I would always torture him, but he didn't even know it.
That's great.
Oh, it fucking drove him crazy. It drove him. I mean, like I don't know where he has the time to watch people to find that they steal jokes.
Yeah, I don't know why he took it so personally, but he was certainly the champion of that.
Because he's a defender of the art. He really feels that way. Who are other guys that have stolen and gotten caught like that? Well, I guess Carlos was the worst, but Dane was.
Yeah, Dane never really admitted it though. Like people, I guess, eventually kind of came around to he was wrong. But was it just Louis' stuff, or was it other people too?
Well, he took a bit off of me. Talk about like rendering me like helpless. I go at the Comedy Store. I said, Dane, I heard you did my fighting bit on Comedy Central. He goes, Dom, that was like 3 years ago. You know I love you, buddy. And he hugs me. And I go, oh, I just kind of walked away thinking, is there a statute of limitations?
Yeah.
Well, what?
Does that make it all right?
He actually admitted it. And,
Ugh.
I mean, the thing about him is he was such a great performer. With a minimal amount of material, he could do well. He's so charming.
What's that ego? You get that first hit album or something, you become big, and you just think you deserve these other jokes. You could have thought of that. You just didn't have the time. So when I grab it, you can't do it.
Yeah. Did you ever like unconsciously do a joke for a while and find out it was somebody else's? Or
I've thought of jokes and have people being like, "Oh, I actually thought of the same thing," but you could tell where the premise. You'd be like, "Okay, no one's accusing anyone of stealing. we both have the same joke. In my last special, actually, I have a word for word Nikki Glazer joke. And Nikki Glazer's a friend of mine. I haven't seen that much of her act, but I once I heard it, I went back and watched her. She'd done it in her last special. I did it in this one. It was the other day. I was driving in my car and I ran over a dear friend. And it's the kind of thing where you're like, I can totally see how we both came up with
Right.
this. And people would ask her about it, and she just said parallel thought. Like, there's no way Anthony stole this from me. We're friends.
Yeah.
And I didn't tell her that when the New York Times wrote about my special, and they singled out that joke as
Oh,
the worst joke.
Oh,
of my
really?
special.
Oh.
So I was like, okay, I don't feel too
I
bad.
thought you were going to go the other way.
No, I'm not gonna say, okay, Nikki, that's the good one. Like, yeah, we had the same joke, but like if two people have a similar joke, they didn't steal, they just came up with a similar joke, which I think is most of the time that's where things come from. You just have to tell two comedians they both have bad jokes.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like when I used to write for Jimmy Fallon on the Tonight Show.
Oh, did you?
Yeah, I was there for the first year, or when he had the Late Show.
The one in New York.
Mhm.
Oh, he's still in New York, right?
Yeah, but the first one, and we would have faxers. These guys who would email us 5 jokes a day. And if you got a joke on, you got $100. So we had like 6 writers and then a bunch of faxers. What we would do with the faxers, we would read through their jokes. And if we saw one of ours that we actually liked, like, oh, this is a good joke, and then a faxer had it, we knew it wasn't a good joke. Because if it was, these idiots wouldn't have come up with it.
Right.
You know, so if two people have the same joke, it's either someone stole it or you just don't have a very good joke on your hands.
Yeah. Yeah, I could never do that. I could never do that kind of writing.
Oh, I was not good at it. They never used my stuff.
I think that if I was with other people, I could help punch up, but I could never sit there alone and do it.
I thought it would be when I got into comedy to be a joke writer in a late night situation, and I thought it would be like 5 guys sitting around a table making jokes, joking around, tagging things, busting each other's balls, and it wasn't like that at all. You're at a computer at your desk, dead silent, trying to write as many jokes as you can because you have no idea what the host is going to want that day.
Yeah, yeah.
And I hated it. I did it for a year and just hated it.
Yeah, I would be terrible. I mean, the reason I don't do political jokes is because there's 10 writers on 5 shows and doing that every day, grinding it out, how stupid Trump is and what a liar Hillary is, and how many variations can you make on that theme?
Oh, exactly. And I hate just the fact that there's a statute of limitations on it. You have a great joke, and a couple of weeks later, it's corny all of a sudden. That broke my heart.
Well, that's what's good about when you do stuff about yourself or your family or anything real. Nobody's going to just be exactly like your aunt.
Yeah,
whoever it is, But yeah, like how dumb George Bush was and that shit, and Obama's really a Muslim, and who gives a fuck,
Yeah, you're getting applause from the people who already agree with you. You're not changing anyone's mind, and you're not really making anyone laugh. They laugh at the thing that they know is gonna be funny. Like, here's what drives me crazy about comedy and the way people's reactions to comedy. You ever see a movie trailer for a comedy? And there's one big joke in it. There's one thing where a guy goes flying through the room, and it's like, okay, I'm going to see this movie because of that image. That was funny. So you're watching the movie, and you know this part's coming up. And it shouldn't be that funny because everyone has seen it a million times. And then it happens in the theater, and the theater laughs harder than they've laughed at anything else.
Right.
Because they feel comfortable laughing at it.
Yeah.
And that's what those jokes are. There's like those kind of corny jokes are things people feel comfortable at. As a comedian, you want people to be uncomfortable and laughing. That's where you get the best stuff, I think.
What do you think of Kevin Hart lately?
I don't know that much of his act. From what I've seen of him, I like him. I've seen him
Very
host
likable,
SNL and things. I like him as a person. I couldn't tell you one of his bits. I'm sure they're fine.
Well,
but
you know what?
He's an entertainer.
He's a storyteller more, and he's very he is an entertainer, and he's charming. But I always think when he does, like in a movie, some of it is so. Like, everybody worries about generalizations and racist and stereotype. Some of it is so like step and fetch it. Feet don't fail me now.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know what I mean? And it's interesting because he makes it work, but it's definitely like old school black guy.
Yeah.
And
he's doing it from an ironic place. I don't like when comics do what they think the audience will think is funny. I want to see a comic say what they think is funny and make the audience laugh at it.
Yeah.
If that makes sense. And I think most great comics do that. But with people like that, who are entertainers, they will do something. They just think the audience is going to go nuts for this.
Yeah.
I don't think he would enjoy it personally.
Right.
But I'm sure that his crowd eats it up.
I love when somebody, like a woman, will be laughing but shaking her head no.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like she disapproves, but she can't help but laugh. I said, you can't have it both ways.
I call that out too. I say you can't laugh and shake your head no at the same time.
And disapproval because you're gonna admit you like it or
yeah, you got to pick one.
That's a funny emotion. So what do you got coming up? You want to plug anything?
No, nothing really.
We're doing Montreal together.
I'll be in Montreal. I'm gonna host one of Jeff Ross's roast battles. I'm gonna be doing that.
Oh, cool.
I'll be doing the Toronto festival.
Don't tell him I said.
I'll do the Toronto just for laughs. But otherwise, my year is pretty barren. I'm just gonna be at the Comedy Store almost every night, just working on this new hour. Hopefully, by the end of the year, I'll have it done.
Is there a reason you don't work here?
I just never got in here in the beginning here at the Laugh Factory. They just didn't really want me that much. It was kind of Dane's club at the time, and Dane didn't like me.
Oh God, yeah.
I was never in at the store either. I kind of did the improv and then the alt scene. But once the store kind of had its resurgence, the new management came to me and said, "We want you here. What do we have to do?" And that's all it really takes for a guy like me is to come and be like, "We need you. We want you." And they've got shows, the packed shows 7 nights a week. They got a place for me to park my car right there. They treat me like a god.
That makes a difference.
It makes a big difference. And there's a place to hang out as a comic. You know, here I just don't have many friends who perform here. I like the club, but they just never we just never hooked up.
You never did Vegas for them?
No.
It's, that's a really good gig if you want to work on material, because you don't do too much time. You do 35-minute sets, but you do 2 a night, so you can really do the first show and think of something and go, oh fuck, I'll try it in a half an hour.
Yeah, maybe I'll do that when I get up to that 35.
You really should. Yeah. I mean, if it helps you write, I mean,
that's all that helps me write is just repetition. Just keep it going. You get exhausted with a bit, and then something else comes to you.
Well, this was interesting. It was interesting meeting you, and it's fun because you never know where a podcast is going to go. And the two goofballs like us could actually have a serious conversation for an hour about stand-up comedy.
Yeah,
I
love it.
So,
well, this is why I did this. I wanted to. We've never really hung out. We've met a couple times.
Didn't you do my Breaking Balls show one time?
I did it. Yeah,
that's where I met you.
I did that. Yeah. Well, that's where we actually got to spend some time thinking about. I was like, I would love to sit and talk to you for an hour. You're a legend. So this was. Thanks for having me. This has been great.
Thank you, my friend. Anthony Jeselnik, coming to a theater near you. Tom Irrera from the Laugh Factory. Bye. At each time that I think of you.